Before I begin, allow me first to say, Steve Fall, thank you for the opportunity, for how much I was able to work with Daily Slam, your Steve Fall's Wrestling YouTube channel, and just bring in the content and my overall take and passion on the AEW product. It's been a hell of a ride. I wish you all the best in your 10 count endeavors. I certainly will be following. But, ladies and gentlemen, from now on, the Simple Man's brand will be the exclusive home of my all elite recon reviews from now on. Whether or not they resume weekly, that remains to be seen. Stay tuned. Thank you. Hey, Lee took his shot. It's a pretty damn good shot. Too bad he didn't hit the one where it counted the most. But I digress. It was Friday night, and you know what that means. Hello, once again, everybody, and welcome to my simple YouTube channel, The Simple Man's Brand. And you know what this is, if you see me, for I am the Simple Man, and my name is Noah Foster, bringing back, once again, AEW Rampage recap and reviews. Maybe weekly, maybe just around pay-per-view week. We'll see what happens too. Between video games, real life, work, and just, relaxing the mentality. Content creation is one of those things that I do at a whim too. But I appreciate those that follow me along the utter venture, and I hope you continue to follow me along wherever I may bring my voice and wrestling passion forward to. But without further ado, as far as what this is about, let's get right into it. As AEW Full Gear Week is here and underway, and I'm trying to bring you up to speed. So let's not waste any more time. This was the latest episode of AEW Rampage. And of course, this came from the Agonis Arena in Boston, Massachusetts. It was headlined by an AEW All Night Championship match, a couple of eliminator matches from the AEW World Title Full Gear Eliminator Tournament. Nyla Rose had her TBS Championship Open Challenge, self acclaimed. And Jungle Boy finally wanted to meet Christian Cage face to face, which he did, and Luchasaurus. And he had a challenge for them. But he's not a guy to attack and talk from behind. He does things right to your face. And so he did. He talks about how Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, it might have been, two friends he thought he had, how Luchasaurus cost him 3 years of his life, how they pretty much have cost him everything possible. And truth be told, they've used every advantage that they could to get the better of him. But since Jungle Boy cost him that one match where Christian Cage thought that he and his right hand destruction Luchasaurus were up to bigger and better things, going after the gold, where Luchasaurus may have been close to becoming the new AEW champion, Jungle Boy says this has to end. So I want one more match with my old friend, your right hand destruction, Luchasaurus. You only got mad at me for costing you one match when you cost me pretty much my entire career up to this point and threatened to end it. Well, now I'm looking to end this by putting all the odds against myself. And so it was made and accepted on behalf of Christian Cage. It will be Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Luchasaurus at AEW Full Gear inside a steel cage. And then Christian Cage made it as personal as he usually does, talking about his mother. And of course, Jungle Boy will always have those looks of his father, where Luchasaurus took advantage and the right hand destruction got one last statement in at the expense of Jungle Boy, choke slamming him with the right hand, concaving a chair. Ouch. So here's the thing. The way I see it is Jungle Boy is all our heart. I like to think he's coming in here with a game plan, but at this point, I feel he's just fighting on spirit. He's fighting for revenge, redemption, and closure. This has to be the final chapter at the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens and see what unfolds. And with the steel cage, will it be enough to prevent Christian Cage from getting involved? Will it allow Jungle Boy to unleash all his unbridled rage without restraints? And will it lead to victory for him in the end? Stay tuned. As we go from there, we go backstage where Lexi Nair, boy, she's been busy. She was with the Death Triangle, who, of course, now talk about their AEW Trios Championships. And, of course, they have to defend these titles as fighting champions. But Pac says, we always have a target. You guys need to consider what these are about and what it means to hold on to them by any means necessary, as he uses a bell hammer to hit one of the titles. Ray Phoenix had an opportunity to become the AEW All-Atlantic champion. He failed to capitalize on the potential spot where Pac gave him the bell hammer because he didn't want to break his morals. He didn't believe they had to fight like that they're better than that. But again, Penta, Ray Phoenix, Alex Abrahantes, what are they thinking about Pac's words? and his proposed suggestion? Wait and see. We go back to the ring now as the AEW Full Gear Eliminator Tournament continues with the quarterfinals as the Machine Brian Cage representing the Embassy with Prince Nana in his corner. Took on, of course, for the 612, the Inhuman Dante Martin. And it was definitely a match of agility versus power. As Dante Martin looked to the advantage in the early going, at one point, Brian Cage literally using him as a weight, just lifting the man and then tossing him to the side. But Brian Cage, for his girth, he tried to hit a couple of lariats, and Dante Martin's speed got the better, including that escape off the ropes. And at one point, Dante Martin gets the better of Brian Cage, sends him to the outside of the ring, and catches him with a tope suicida. But then Brian Cage catches him, again, power, good grief, and suplexed him onto the floor. As Dante bows back to come back to restaurant quality, picture on picture, Dante kept his momentum going with a ridiculous diving crossbody off the top rope. Get that ridiculous hang time, of course. Brings him back into the ring, gets DDT, and then at one point he goes for a big splash for the nearest near fall. We thought he literally was going to beat this man here, where weight was not going to be a factor. As Dante looked for his finish, he moved the nosedive. That was blocked. But then he catches him with a springboard off the top rope to the outside. Again, the hang time off that springboard. That is freaking insane. Inhuman, I guess you could say. And then Dante hits another big splash for another near fall here. Better than the crossbody, more full-on body impact, even though he kind of bounced. And it still was not enough, but Dante went back to that well, back to where he is at his greatest height, the top rope, and went for a 450 splash. But Brian Cage, he got out of the way, catches Dante with a discus lariat, turning it literally inside out, upside down, 360, not 450, and then sets him up for, of course, the gory flatliner power slam special, Weapon X, that they call it, and Brian Cage advances, which makes sense because Brian Cage has already lost out on the Ring of Honor TV Championship and the TNT Championship. He had to get some sort of under his belt, but Dante Martin continued to look very strong here. A good match. And now we know that will be Brian Cage versus either Lance Archer or Absolute Ricky Starks. And that will be determined, of course, this week after Lance Archer, and I personally reached out to him. He said he just maimed Ricky Starks a little bit. It was an absolute destruction. And the match will happen, I believe, some point this week. I have to imagine it's going to be on Dynamite, but it has not yet been announced. Unless they do a double whammy and do both on Rampage. That'd be crazy. Ricky Starks or Lance Archer working double duty against the Machine. Who's to say? But we'll go from there and just see what happens. As we move on from there, we have, of course, the Firms, Lee Moriarty with Stokely. As Lee talked about how he hanged with Jon Moxley and believes that he can go with the best in AEW. But before anything else could be said about how he has golden intentions and Stokely looks to hype him up, well, now I know Stokely's actually intimidated by somebody. Cold Hard has the double undefeated man himself. Hook came in, holding the FTW Championship, and looks at Lee. Tiger Style versus Hook? Yes, please. I can see this getting booked for the 0 hour for Full Gear. Nothing announced yet, but as far as the Ring of Honor Pro Championship, I guess that's to the wayside. Okay, a different change of pace. As we go back to the ring, the tournament continues with action as we have El Toro Blanco, RUSH, with Jose, the assistant, taking on the newly signed Bandido. And RUSH was not wasting any time here because these two have bad blood going back to Ring of Honor, back when Bandido beat RUSH for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I guess RUSH hasn't forgotten. Immediate attack right before the bell. Arby tries to look for control, and at one point, literally, RUSH is being choked and driven into the steel guardrail. And then finally, he brings him back into the ring. Bell finally rings, and he got whipped like a government mule. As good old JR would say. Always great to hear JR on Rampage. You know, his lighter schedule, he's just enjoying himself. It's worthwhile for him. And Rude, basically, he just took over the early part of this match. Straight up power, intimidations, even did the move in the corner. You think he's going to get the bull horns. No, he just kicks him. Aubrey's like, what are you doing? Get him out of the corner. And, of course, Aubrey, you should know, Rush is tranquilo, as Jose approves on the outside. As we go from there, Bandido tries to get some sort of offense in. And then there's a knee and a discus elbow. Both these men rocking each other. And then Rouge with a bit of maybe an invention on the fly. Off the top rope, single leg drop kick. and drops Rush where he stood for a nice near fall. But then Bandido, his power took over. Again, the strength Bandido is something to behold for his size, per se. He catches him and power slams him for a two count. I like how the audience kept focusing on the Spanish here, reminding Rush, no, it was dos, it was dos, it was dos, when you thought that Rush maybe had it 2 or 3 times. And then Bandido hits a ridiculous cruiserfish bomb, but then Rush rallies back and spikes Bandido with a pile driver for another dos. As Roos again looks to distract Abriera, Jose tries to pull the mask off of Bandido in the other corner until Dark Order music played, and I thought it was Preston. Not quite. It was the other guy that talked about these two, and particularly Johnny Hungy, John Silver. He got down for a bit of a distraction spot, and it was just enough to allow Bandido to catch Roos in what has to be the most dangerous move for wrestling, a roll-up. And Bandido wins and advances and gets his first major win under AEW. And another win over Roos. Roos loses at the expenses of Dark Order's John Silver. So Roos is going to be furious. He's probably going to be seeing red. And I imagine it's going to be him versus John Silver, maybe grudge match, 0 Hour, or even Rampage Full Gear this week. I'm looking forward to this. It's a nice little sub program. And again, John Silver, I think he deserves to be pushed more on television. He has a tremendous character and he's also a great athlete. So I look forward to seeing how this goes. Tough break for Ruth, but congratulations to Bandido. And of course, to the after, the official graphic came out. He was now known as All Elite. I wish him all the best, as now he faces All Eagle, Ethan Page, this week on Dynamite. Or is it Rampage? I always forget. But we'll see how this goes. As we move on from there, Renee Paquette is backstage with Claudio Castagnoli. And before Claudio can really say anything, Jake Hager, old friend, old tag team partner, rival in the ring, comes into play and says, Claudio, you are a great, great professional wrestler, but you could be even better as a sports entertainer. Think about it. Think about it. And then tells Renee Paquette, I really like this hat. Purple bucket hat. Really, Jake Hager? I mean, Jake Hager Clark Snowy would be a powerhouse, pun intended, of a tag team, we the people, in AEW. But Claudio, it just feels like to me he fits the mold of Blackpool Combat Club more, per se. And honestly, if this leads to another match between the two, or even maybe a sub program, maybe Best of 7 series, at first not done yet in AEW, and it means more Jake Hager versus Claudio Castagnoli, I like this setup. So I'm curious where this is going. Next, we had Nyla Rose and Kayla Sparks. Okay, so this was your sports entertainment spot of the night, where Nyla Rose came out the self-proclaimed TBS champion and defended her title and her streak against ambitious young CCW represent Kayla Sparks. Kayla Sparks, she tried, but it was pretty much pump kick. Yeah, you heard me right. Pump kick by Nyla Rose, and Kayla got Nyla or jaded, whatever you want to call it. And Nyla Rose wins. But not before, again, this is just funny. Not before, of course, just really sending a mop-filled message to that bitch. I guess we're going to see who truly is that bitch with that strap at Full Gear. As Jade Cargill looked to reclaim her prize and remind Nyla Rose who she is, pump kicking her in the face. So Nyla Rose, now you know what a Jade Cargill pump kick feels like. Yeesh. And this bitch is angry. As she tried to, have the title back, Marina Shafir made sure it was still in the claim of Nyla Rose and Vicky and herself, and they sneak away as staffs and referees restrained Jade Cargill from basically tearing them apart to go after her title. Well, regardless, we know one of them will have the title for sure officially at AEW Full Gear. At this point, Nyla Rose, you might want to go see Darburger DMD and make sure your teeth are in line, because yeesh, that pump kick was on point. Besides Ty Conti, Ty Mello, Jake Cargill might have the meanest pump kick in AEW. Seriously. Damn. On point. As we go from there, we talk about our main event. As the original student of QT Marshall, Lee Johnson, came to be now part of what's known as The Factory to take on freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy with Best Friends for the AEW All-Night Championship. Not much to really be said here, as Lee talked about how, again, he is here to take a shot and prove a point, as Orange tried to take Mark Henry's line, saying it was time for the main event. Again, one of these days, Orange Cassidy is going to say fully Mark Henry's line, and it will be the day that Mark Henry probably will appreciate it. but also probably be pissed off, and I can't wait for it. As Excalibur not only ran what's to come on Dynamite, but also the entire AEW Full Gear card, as I'm going to try to do for you right now, is again, folks, we are in AEW Full Gear Week, and it is a stat lineup. We will hear from John Mox, the AEW World Champion. We will also hear from AJF this coming Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. The Death Triangle will defend the AEW Trios Championships against Top Flight. Darius Martin is now cleared, and their partner will be AR Fox. Before the Fatal 4-Way, Clara Castanoli and Bryan Danielson will team up to take on the team of Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Thunderbreaker DMD will be with Tony Schiavone, and Saraya will be in sit-down with Renee Paquette as both will get their final words in before AEW Full Gear. And in her return back to the ring, the Bunny will take on Tony Storm for the AEW interim, hate that word, Women's World Championship eliminator match, where if the Bunny wins, she will get a follow-up AEW Women's World Championship match after Full Gear. And of course, AEW Full Gear comes to us from the Prudential Center this Saturday. But before that, we have AEW Rampage Full Gear, and already a headline big tag team match has been announced as Tony Khan falls up on the promise of what Eddie Kingston wants. Eddie Kingston and Ortiz will tag up to take on the returning Konosuke Takeshita and Juan Amayama. Probably should I screw up your name. And then we go into AEW Full Gear, the pay-per-view, where currently right now we have a stat card. It will be Jake Hager defending the TBS Championship and her streak against Nyla Rose. Jungle Boy looks to finally settle the score as Jack Perry and finish this famous right-hand destruction to the Soros inside a steel cage. Thunderbreaker DMD will take on Saraya, who now returns to in-ring action one-on-one. The Acclaimed defend the AEW World Tag Team Championships against Swerve in Our Glory. Sting and Darby Allin wish to unleash vengeance against a guy that is really pissed off and looks to have his own lethal injection. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett in tag team action. The Ring of Honor World Championship will be defended in fatal 4-way as Bryan Danielson takes on the Ocho, Chris Jericho, and Clara Castanoli and Sammy Guevara. Will Sammy Guevara be an insurance policy, or will he put it all on the line for himself? Tony Storm defends the AEW Women's World Championship against Jimmy Hayter. And in the main event, John Moss defends the AEW World Championship against MJF for the AEW World Championship. More matches will be announced on our way to AEW Full Gear. Stay tuned for further details. And we also have a rap video this Wednesday, just light note, by the Acclaim too. Hand for a hand. No doubt it's going to be a shout out to Swerve in Our Glory this Wednesday at AEW Dynamite. And this is all to come this week in All Elite Wrestling, along with that Charger versus Ricky Starks, one of those winners will face Brian Cage. And also we will have Bandido versus All Eagle Ethan Page, as the AEW Eliminator Tournament Finals will take place at AEW Full Gear. And chances are we will get finally some TNT Championship match booked for AEW Full Gear, with Samoa Joe will speak this Wednesday. And don't count out there being during the 0-hour, maybe AEW Trios Championships, AEW All Atlantic Championship, and possibly the FTW Championship on the line. All this week from All Elite Wrestling. With that being said, we now go to the ring, and it's time for our main event as the AEW All Atlantic Championship is on the line. First, George Cassidy defends the gold against Big Shotty Lee Johnson. The Factory and the Best Friends at Danhausen in the respective corners together. This was a great back and forth match here for what it was. Again, Big Shotty Lee, people forgot, again, because he was on the injury shelf for so long, that he could really bring it. At one point, getting a nice near fall with a Blue Thunder Bomb. The Factory trying to eliminate Chucky Taylor and Trent Beretta and even Danhausen. Danhausen getting powered up in a steel chest by QT Marshall. But at the end of it all, Orange Cassidy was able to, continue through the melee. Even Nick Comoroto looked to take advantage behind the rest back countless times. Rev losing all control here. Bryce Rensburg, jeez. Until Trent was able to spear Nick Comoroto and take him out of the picture. But then Lee Johnson not only had Blue Thunderbomb near fall, he also at one point used the ropes for a near fall. Nearly stole the title. But then Cassidy planted Lee with the swinging DDT, one of his, go-to conventions. But Johnson, he ducked the Orange Punch. Never got the Orange Punch in during this match. I must say I'm quite surprised. And then he rocked Orange mean press kick, followed by a back elbow strike. Again, Lee Johnson, he's a big, hard hitter. But Orange Cassidy was able to get the advantage during a bit of a counter for counter type setup here. And finally hit him with the beach break out of nowhere, the vertebreaker, you could say, and pin him with that. So Orange Cassidy defended the AEW All Elite Championship successfully against Lee Johnson using the beach break out of nowhere. QT Marshall looking to take maybe a cheap shot afterwards. Didn't really have a chance because the Best Friends were all in the ring. As always, you got to get the people what they want. And Cole Carter, he gets an Orange Punch for his troubles post-match too. But then, he comes up and they even embrace him. And then Triple Powerbomb him as the Best Friend stand tall too. And we go off the air. And again, folks, AEW, the home of professional wrestling. Well, I will say this. That was a really fun episode of AEW Rampage for me. I think that the match order definitely gelled. I kind of find it interesting how Rampage this time started with a promo bit to define a match for Full Gear, but again, there's continuity there. For me, the AEW World Championship is becoming more of a staple, it seems, across the AEW banner, both TBS and TNT, it seems. But maybe having this more on Rampage is such a bad idea if you have more faces, different faces going towards it. Hey, Mira, where are you? I know your voice, Adam. I'm just saying. And I really enjoyed the show. And before I forget, the House of Black looks to rise once again. That new symbol connected by a heart in the middle. How will the House of Black be rebirthed in AEW as you see one reincarnated, rise from ashes, and literally was burnt to death and just spontaneously combust and be reborn? What is the House of Black's new mission statement? Venture now. A whole new level of violence, and brutality, and destruction. Julia Hart at the forefront. I'm looking very forward to this revamped presentation of the House of Black because all three men are extremely capable, incredible talents, and so is Julia Hart. And it's such a great package and presentation. I wouldn't mind seeing them maybe be trios champions. I wonder if that's maybe something to come. So we'll see when the House of Black does rise, but expect them to come forward again very soon. Before I leave you, I also do have one more announcement for you, as I learned from PW Guru, because after Full Gear, we're in Thanksgiving week. Next week's episode of AEW Rampage after Full Gear, which will be November 25th, where people will be, sleeping after feasting here in the States. And of course, there's football. That episode of AEW Rampage will be on, I kid you not, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that Friday, November 25th, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday Rampage. Because of the TNT schedule having 2 NHL games and a pre-show for both. Apparently, the first one starting 5 p.m. Standard Time and ending with post-game show at 10:30 p.m. Standard Time. So instead of doing Rampage at 11 or midnight, it's literally dead middle of the day in the late afternoon, right before the evening, 4 p.m. Standard Time. So stay tuned for more on that and adjust your clocks and your mentality for wrestling accordingly. And that's really all I got to say about that. But in conclusion, I really enjoyed this episode of Rampage. It felt like for me, they really bounced back and really reignited what this show's all about. It was good match order, good flow. I wish there was more women's presentation, demonstration, besides the little spot there. That's just a nitpick for me. But for what they were doing, and the fact we already got 3 matches now, women's wise, for AEW Full Gear, I thought this show really worked well. So love to hear your thoughts, your comments, maybe what you expect from Rampage going forward. You want more of this? You want less of this? Do you want more women's action? Do you want more title matches per se on this show? Who you think should make Rampage their own zone to thrive and grow? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to engage with you. But thanks for tuning in, as this will now be the home going forward for my all elite coverage in all things wrestling. Shout out, of course, Bandido family on Twitter. But if you want to know more about me, know this. I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. But I digress. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and Foster1916 for all things wrestling. Again, shout out to my AEW family on Twitter. It is going to be a full week of content and wrestling speak galore. For me, I will be on No DQ. I've already was on Combat Wrestling Trivia. Go check that out on Chris Cass's Twitch channel too. I will also be, of course, with Cindy G, the lovely Cindy G. Follow her Twitch channel at _Chanel in the background, providing my outtakes and just engaging with her on AEW Dynamite and Rampage this week. And of course, I'll be back on the Jeff Beacham Network, providing you plenty of coverage of AEW Full Gear. But also, there will be similar predicting panels for both Impact Overdrive and AEW Full Gear this week. I will be back with AEW Dynamite and Rampage recap and reviews. And also, I will be with predictions for the NJPW Stardom crossover pay-per-view too. And I will be bringing back the Simple Take, giving you a triple feature of my thoughts on all 3 of those amazing pay-per-view level shows, 2 actual pay-per-views, and the Impact Plus special on Sunday too. So stay tuned for a different video each night, live and recorded on the Superman's Brand YouTube channel too. But as always, I'd like to conclude. There are no winners, no losers, no betters. They're just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. At the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too, and just enjoy live and enjoy professional wrestling too. It's as simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in for the return of these. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. Hit the bell as this video goes live on demand on this channel, right here at my Simpleman's Brand And hit the subscribe button. Help me keep growing this community. Shout out to all 254 of you that's been with this fun YouTube creator's journey. It's not laying up anytime soon, I assure you. I'm just going to take it in moderation and do as I wish. But if you want certain content, please let me know. I'd love to engage and provide some positive professional wrestling outlook and environment to you too. Open-minded, because opinions matter too. Until next time, where I will be with No DQ and say yes to No DQ tomorrow night for AEW Full Gear Premium Predictions and the conclusion of the All Elite League that I've hosted this year with No DQ, not just for the team, but for all you in the galaxy and beyond too. I leave you with this, as always. Make a positive impact in life and have a good night. AEW Rampage. Good stuff. Now just keep going, because you got to get the people what they want. But I digress.